Day, wherever you are. Thank you very much for turning up to my panel, slash paper slash presentation, whatever you want to call it. So welcome to Bloody Brilliant, a deep dive into Crimson Peak. I am Jo Gilbert. Hello. I am Tom Blackberry on Instagram, on Discord. It is the 31st of October 2020. It is Halloween Day. So get ready for some spooky film action. So, hi everyone. I've already told you who I am. My pronouns are she, her. I have been wearing Lolita since maybe 2012, 2013. I wear classic slash gothic and sometimes Uji, like very occasionally. And I have a PhD in film studies. So this is where this came from. Basically, I abandoned academia quite a while ago, but sometimes it's fun to just basically take a film that you've seen and rip it to shreds and just minutely go through lots and lots of images, sort of step by step. I find it's really fun. It just comes very naturally to me, and I really enjoy doing it. So when I was thinking about, I really enjoyed Sea of Serenity. I want to like do something for it, and I was like, what can I do? What films do Lolita's like? And I was like, Crimson Peak, which I think is really interesting. I don't know if anybody talked to their non-J fashion friends about this film ever, but my non-J fashion friends couldn't give a shit about this film. They really don't have any feelings one way or another. But it seems that every year around Halloween, people start to rethink about this film. So I thought, yes, I will rewatch this film and I will see if I can come up with anything to say about it. Yeah, like non-JFash people, just it doesn't really make any impression on them. They're like, yeah, it's a gothic horror film. But if you're not susceptible to just like staring at costumes for the whole film, I think it doesn't really hold up potentially as well. That's sort of like my take on it. So I'd really like to thank the Grammar IP people for letting me do this in Bay Area Kei. And so what this is going to be is mainly me talking about screenshots, and I'll tell you what my little sections are going to be like when I get to the intro section. So while I was getting ready to do this, I thought it would be nice to feature some people who have done some Crimson Peak inspired cohorts. So we have two really lovely ones. So this is on the left, we've got Jennifer Miles Jennifer on Instagram, in an Edith inspired cohort. I think this is really cool. It's the Hanuli IDD blouse. And I think and then we've got the butterflies in the hair. What I think is really cool about this is that I'm almost certain is Jennifer's real hair, and there's a lot of extremely interesting wig action in this film. So I think it's sort of quite fun to see, like, yes, but in our subculture, we wear our own hair, which also goes down to our waist. We don't need any of this wig action. Thank you for sharing Jennifer's Instagram. And the other one is this incredible cohort by Phantasmagorical on Instagram, which it's just amazing, this cohort. And that, when Phantasmagorical is with a 0 where the O should be. And this is one of the I Do Declare OPs with an overskirt that she just like found somewhere. And it's the Voodoo Dolly headdress, which I think people will kind of recognize. I just think like the amount of atmosphere in this cohort is completely crazy. And I remember since that's been posted, I've gone back and back and back again to look at this cohort. It's so spooky, it's so atmospheric, and I would like to thank both of them for letting me feature them. It's greatly appreciated. So what are we going to do? What is this presentation stuff. So what I'm going to do is, firstly, I'm going to give you a little bit of context about the film, just like a quick whip through some of the production context, timing, stuff like that, and then a very, very quick zip through the plot. I don't know whether anybody's watched it recently or not. It's on UK Netflix anyway at the moment. Then I have a section called Edith Isn't Like Other Girls, which is about how Edith is basically set up in opposition to all the women around her. Then I'll be talking about Lucille and how she's characterized by sort of visual methods by Del Toro throughout the film. Then I'll be talking a little bit about the exteriors and the interiors, so sets, lighting, colours, specifically for Allerdale Hall for a little bit. And then I'm going to do a bit where I talk about sort of the dramatic ending of the film where everything is neutrally lit. I had some more puns in these titles, but I had to take them out because they were jokes that only somebody of my age from the UK would get. And I tested them on people that were 4 years younger and they didn't get them. So this is sort of fairly straightforward sections. And so, like, I can't bring back the puns, they've gone. Comment in the chat if you know what Through the Keyhole is. If you don't know what it is, that's why I'm not doing it, because it didn't work. So I've kept it a bit more transatlantically neutral rather than extremely niche. So, well, that's fine. Well, I'm glad that Bethan knows about Through the Keyhole, but Bethan, if it's just me and you finding it funny, that's not what I would call a very accessible panel, is it? And that's that's how that's going. I know you're old and British, Bethan, so am I, but nobody else is in here. So I thought it would be it's good to just, as general practice when you're presenting, there will be spoilers for the film throughout. So if you do not know the plot, you will be spoiled sufficiently by the end of it. The film and also some of my screenshots have strong bloody violence. So if it's very early in the morning where you are and you want to not look at this, then I get it. And also, just to recap, the film does contain depictions of incestuous relationships. So consider these as trigger warnings. So, a little bit of contextual information about the film. It came out in 2015, which is 5 years ago, which is longer than I thought because it stayed in my brain for quite some time. Del Toro was the director and he co-wrote it with a guy called Matthew Robbins. The costume designer, who I think we can all agree did an amazing job, was Kate Hawley. It was stuck in development hell for years and years and years. So Del Toro actually sold the script to Universal in 2006. It took 9 years to come out. It went through a lot of different iterations with various casts, production problems. I think because it was such, it really stands on its own. Like, it's not part of a franchise. It kind of fits within Del Toro's like oeuvre, but it's not something that could easily be sold to studios. So it just took ages basically to come out. It was moderately commercially successful. So it seemed to have done better box office outside of the US to inside the US. So this is what I was chatting about a little bit before. Critics thought it was okay, and they liked the production values, but they basically thought that the plot and the characters were lacking, which, again, I understand this. This is what happens when you have like a genre film. Sometimes things are a little bit on the thin side and it's more aesthetic and fitting into the genre rather than it potentially being some great groundbreaking thing. Sometimes you just want it to be a gothic horror. It doesn't need to be like groundbreaking. It's my personal view on that. So critics think that. The old fashion and J-fashion community love this film, as I've already shown by people doing co-auds about it. I've seen a few people mention it in like the run up to Halloween, and so it always just kind of comes to the forefront of of my mind around this time of year. So now it's time for my gallop through the plot of this film to make sure you are all up to speed. So Edith Cushing, who is played by Mia Wasikowska, meets a Thomas Sharp, Tom Hiddleston, and his sister Lucille, Jessica Chastain, in Buffalo, New York in 1901. Sharp wants money for his mining operation back in England, and he asks Edith's dad, who was a wealthy businessman, to invest. Dad says no. Edith and Thomas become romantically involved. Edith's dad tries to break them up, but he gets murdered. Edith, Thomas, and Lucille ship off back to England. This is, again, the flattest and quickest synopsis of this film you will ever come across. Plot time, part 2. At Allerdale Hall, Edith sees the Sharps' red clay mining operation, which is a big machine, and the dilapidated spooky hall, and Edith is rejected by Thomas a lot. She drinks tea given to her by Lucille and starts having to use a wheelchair, deteriorates physically, and is haunted by spooky red ghosts. Edith and Thomas get snowed in at the post office and have sex as a married couple for the first time. When they get back, Lucille acts weird, and eventually Edith finds evidence that Thomas has been married multiple times before. Edith realizes that the tea she's been drinking has been poisoned, and that Lucille and Thomas are in an incestuous relationship, and that all the previous wives have been murdered in order to support the mining operation, and so the siblings can continue as a couple. There's a big conclusion of the fight. The Doctor, who is a random side character from Buffalo, he doesn't really serve any particular purpose other than as like a plot MacGuffin, in my opinion. He saves Edith when she gets pushed off a balcony. Lucille kills Thomas and Edith kills Lucille. Edith and the Doctor survive. It is truly, it's a plot. You can definitely say that this is some plot. Edith and the Doctor survive and escape, but both siblings are dead. And that is the plot of Crimson Peak. So yeah, I'm going to go through my analysis fairly straightforwardly. If you've got anything burning, you can pop it in the chat, or I'm going to have time for questions at the end. So if I miss it, then hopefully I'll come back to it at the end. So it's going to be a fairly straightforward, like half an hour of me showing you a screenshot and then tearing it into tiny pieces to say what I think is going on. So, firstly, Edith is not like other girls. Here we have a nice picture of Edith in her beautiful golden yellow gown with all the lovely buttons down the front and the nice pleating and the large sleeves. It is extremely good. So yeah, I'm basically going to talk about how Del Toro sets Edith up as like a special woman who is not like other women, whatever that means. So this is one of the first establishing shots that we see of, we are going to talk about the puff sleeves. We're going to talk about the puff sleeves a lot. It's one of the things that I have to talk about in this particular screenshot. So Edith is in Buffalo. This is her home. This is where she is from. This is where she spent her whole life, etc., etc. So what I think is interesting about, so Del Toro does this a lot in this film, and I'm going to talk about it a lot. He likes to slap a color on a screenshot. If you're in Buffalo, it's yellow. If you are inside Allerdale Hall, it is teal. If you are looking at a ghost, the ghost is red. And he talks about it. I have the art book, which is right here, which I'd really recommend if you like this film. Definitely pick this up. It's one of these really big, beautiful, detailed art books with really lovely color stuff in there and all that stuff. So yes, in that, yeah, there is an art book. Yeah, it came out in 2015 at the same time as the film. So yeah, in that book, Del Toro comes out and says, yes, I use colors to represent things, and he bloody well does. This is so everything is yellow. Yellow is the color. You will see how much of Edith's costumes are like yellowy, sort of that mustardy, ochre-y color. And yeah, everything is this yellowish grey. Look at her big puff sleeves. Look how they are round. Have a little look at the background here. So we've also got round, 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 round. So basically, she fits into her environment. She physically fits in there. This is her space. This is her town. This is where she fits in. This is her environment. She's not out of her element. She just like, this is her place. So I included this particular screenshot, because it's another nice little look at her sleeves. But also, look, here are some beautiful globular lights. Would you hate it if Michael said, see, mustard is a controversial colour. It's very trendy in interior design at the moment, but not like this sort of dark mustard, like proper turmeric yellow is more trendy. But yeah, I think it also sort of sets up this like sepia tinged, ooh, it's in the past, this kind of thing. But mainly like this yellowy stuff is just basically Edith is in her element. She belongs in this building. So this is where she's going to go and pitch her novel to a guy who rejects her. So I'm going to talk about these women who get no one ever talks about these women, but I love the way they are dressed. To get the sort of analysis bit out of the way, I'm going to flip between this and this screenshot and the next one. So look at what Edith is wearing, and then look at, oh, hang on, go back. And then look at what these women are wearing. So these women are wearing beautiful hats with feathers and ribbons, and they've got lots of really beautiful, luxurious material all across here. They've got big brooches, they've got flowers. They are very, very overtly femme, like super, super feminine, in a very obvious way. I think that this is maybe my favourite hat. This one in the middle, I think that's probably my favourite. Anyway, if you look at what Edith, the heroine, is wearing, she is wearing a small hat, which is made of straw and only has one ribbon on it. And I also very much enjoy her little pursed mouth expression. I think it's really like the most disdainful expression that you could possibly have. I find it very funny. So yeah, basically, and also she's only got like this one little net over her face, and all these women have these huge, massive, feathery bits, which I personally prefer, but what are you going to do? So, and she's holding her book, which she is going to go and present. So, and her book with its little black corners, notice how the black corner here is echoed by this black bit on her collar. So she basically, again, is this really like integrated, really like rounded, everything matches. She's really consistent. She is like, she's a very specific type of like academic woman who is not like these fancy ladies in their silks and their furs and their feathers. She's different. She's not like other girls. She's a girl that reads. There's some interesting things with sort of feminine stereotypes, which Del Toro sort of uses a lot in this film. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more when we go to Lucille, but I think it's quite interesting that it's, I would also rather be a girl with a hat than a girl who reads. If those are the two options, I'm going to wear the hat. But this is the thing, is we all know that it is both, because like we all like to read. Girl with a book on a hat. I'm not wearing any. I've got like a set of brooches with books on you could also store books in it. Have you considered hats made of books? Yes, all of these things are, we know, the true middle way. But what Del Toro does is he sets up this opposition between Lucille and other women, basically saying, well, you can't be that kind of woman if you're going to be a heroine, because that's just silly, is the impression that I've kind of got. So I couldn't get a really good picture of this, but this is where Lucille and Thomas are at the ball. And again, these women are wearing flashier stuff. They have more high contrast on them. She's got this big old flower here. Look how long the pearls are. Look, this big chunky boy here. Big sleeves. I would wear those. I would definitely wear just like a set of sleeves like that. Anyway, that's not what I'm supposed to be talking about. So basically, these two are super different. This is skin color, satiny silk stuff. She's not got a necklace on. She's got all of this stuff around her middle. So firstly, these two are super contrasty again. So she's like, I'm this kind of woman. Oh, but I'm just here, and you couldn't possibly pick me. Being overtly wanting to be with a man is not acceptable. A heroine could not possibly do that. So that's one thing. But the other thing that I find very interesting about these dresses are, this dress basically makes Edith look naked. And this is because of how close the colour is to her skin. It's really, really close. And also, all of these pearl bits are essentially just emphasising her body more. This teeny tiny pearl bit is literally on her belly button, and this is just the shape of like a woman's body. And also, it also calls to Thomas's outfit over here, because his belt chainy thing is in exactly the same place as hers, which is also really close to their nether regions. So it's basically jamming them. The nakedness is a metaphor. It's like, oh, she's wearing a beautiful dress. She is wearing a beautiful dress, but the idea of this beautiful dress is to make you think about the body beneath it. It's not about the actual dress, it's about what's under it, and that's what's happening here. It's basically like fucking through clothes. But not, I'm not sure. Cummerbund, yes, his cummerbund is what's got the jewelry on it. So yeah, I just thought that was pretty interesting that they're kind of, Del Toro does like bind them together, and he does, despite everything that happened, Del Toro gives this couple quite like he's allowed to get away with some stuff. I'll talk about it at the end, but like my conclusion is like, I don't know why Del Toro chose to have like a female heroine if he was just going to make her into all sorts of stereotypes and all the. We will go through this as I go through this one. So yes, this is a very nice dress and it makes her look naked. That's the point of this slide. Right, so now we move on to some more extremely sledgehammery metaphors from Del Toro. And he talks about this in the art book. Basically, these yellow swallowtail butterflies are they are what represent Edith. Edith is live nature. She is the live butterflies. Lucille and the house is moths and like basically like dead butterflies and dead flying things. So this is when Edith and Lucille are in the park. So loads and loads of Edith's outfits. They have like little bits of nature on them, and also this like black detail. You can see exactly like, look at this butterfly, look at this lace. They're calling in directly to each other. And I just think that this is a very, just a really obvious way of setting up these particular two characters in opposition. Like, we've got a live butterfly, we've got a dead one. Look at the way these two guys look different, and how she is all in black, she is all in white. And also some more hat appreciation. This hat is so similar to the markings on the swallowtail butterfly. It's like, it's very, very, I don't really mind the sledgehammeriness of it. I think it's cool. But when you start looking at all of the instances of this throughout the film, you're like, damn, he's really, really hammering home that butterfly thing. He really wanted you to get that. He really, really did. I included this screenshot because look at the lighting. This could not be less subtle. This is literally, look at these two people who somehow in a park in the middle of the day are managing to be in this silhouette. It's very heavy-handed. It's again sledgehammery, but also it's nice to look at apart from anything else. And Edith is still there in the background hanging out. So yeah, you're like, oh, something's gonna go down. Look at these guys in silhouette. They don't mean good things. They mean bad things. So we have this is another one of Edith's yellow dresses with the black bits on. And sorry, you can't really see, but these are all moths. This is up in the attic. Yeah, so goth, you create shadows out of nowhere. Yeah, you just, speaking as a goth, you just absorb light. It's why taking pictures of us is so difficult, because we just don't catch the light very well. Yeah, so this is, I think this might be the one that I used on the slide for the beginning of this section as well. But yeah, it's yellow, it's black. Look at it standing out against like the way the light comes through here. She's a butterfly. She is a living thing in an area of death. That's what's happening. So now we're going to talk about Lucille, who is characterized in a completely different, totally opposite, she is everything that Edith is not kind of way. So I'm going to talk about this amazing dress. So this is my personal favorite dress in the film, which is this incredible red silk gown. The folds down the back look like a spine. The folds down the side look like arm bones. I have got a better picture of. So here we've got the front view, this amazing rough arrangement with the little beads on it and the beads in her hair. So this is another thing that Del Toro full on says, I did this. Lucille is the only character in the film who wears red, because she is so intimately connected to the ghosts, and the ghosts are red. And that's what's going on here. It's very straightforward. So I think that, so Edith notices that Thomas's outfits are anachronistic and not fashionable. She doesn't notice this though, and this is like, this is not comparable. Like, this headwear does not look anything like anyone else that you have seen in the rest of the film. She looks like Tudor, or like sort of fake Tudor, fake medieval kind of thing, with the rough, like that collar really wasn't something that you would have been seeing around that time. But Edith doesn't bother pointing that out. I think I would, but that's because I'm more interested in women's clothes than men's clothes. But yeah, so this outfit is like pure fantasy, basically. I think what is most interesting about this costume is when you compare it to how the ghosts look. Because I'm going to do some flicking between these slides. So, oh, no, wait. So if you look at the way this like ripples down there, and you can see the way like it sort of ripples like that. And then look at the way this ghost, which is actually the ghost of her mum, look at how this looks and how it ripples and how it catches the light, and how the folds are really, really similar to what is going on Lucille's dress. So it's not just the color, it's like the color, the texture, the lighting, all of that kind of stuff is what is connecting Lucille to the ghosts and to the secrets of the house. It does look like a spine. Her dress is basically like an exoskeleton. That's what's going on. It's a spooky demonic exoskeleton that connects her to ghosts and stuff. That's what it is. And it's great. And we would all love to own it. I am wearing a red JSK underneath this, but it's nowhere near as fancy as that, unfortunately. I wish that I had that level of training, but I don't. So now we're going to move on to what references that aren't just colours is Del Toro doing. And in the art book, he mentions quite briefly that he was referencing paintings and a few PreRaphaelite artists. I don't know whether anybody in the chat knows anything about this, so I'm just going to say extremely quickly, they were a Victorian art movement in England, and they were into painting lots of beautiful women from mythology, and they all fucked each other's wives. And it's one of these sort of Victorian art movements where everyone was shagging everyone else, and then they made beautiful art, and the women were treated really badly. It's one of those. I think there might have been a series on the BBC. I don't know if it's available on iPlayer. Yeah, it's like this is the art that made me into art when I was younger, because look, it's beautiful women in lovely dresses. When I was doing this presentation, a gallery in Birmingham. I've not been to that one in Birmingham. There's a few of them just like scattered to the winds in like art galleries throughout the country. So, but when I was doing the presentation, I thought, who does Jessica Chastain look like? What is going on here? And then I realized that this is what is happening. Del Toro has literally made her look exactly like two PreRaphaelite paintings in particular. So this one is by Rossetti. So this, the model is actually Jane Morris, who was William Morris's wife. So William Morris is a interior designer, again, from the same period, hung out with all that lot. You'd recognize like wallpaper done by him. It's very trendy at the moment, lots of like natural elements and stuff like that. But anyway, this is a painting of Persephone, who is from the myth about Hades and Persephone and spring, and she is trapped with Hades for 2 seasons of the year, and that's why the seasons exist, is because when she comes back above. William Morris comes out. That's very interesting. I did not know this. Anyway, sorry, distracted by the chat. So she is a mythical woman who is trapped in a place that she cannot get out of for 6 months. What is Lucille if not completely trapped in her house and unable to leave, and also sort of bound in this relationship that she definitely wants, but is also kind of causing her harm? And I think that that is definitely something comparable to the myth of Persephone. I think that you can kind of see here, you'll see it more in the future slides, but just the colours in this painting and the next one, there's no way that Del Toro didn't do this on purpose. Also, I think their facial structures are like identical. They've both got these like big pointy mouths and these like quite square chins and like quite straight noses and blue eyes. And this hair is like identical to Lucille's hair. So it's if it's not on purpose, I'd be really surprised. And this is the other painting that I think is probably being referenced by what Lucille is wearing. So this is a painting by another PreRaphaelite, John Waterhouse. So this is Cersei offering the cup to Odysseus, and this is from like exactly the same period. So Cersei from the Odyssey is a witch who turns men into pigs, which is what's happening here, by making them drink poison, which is what's in that cup. And she is trying to trap Odysseus on this island, and that's who's in the background here. So it's the men weren't already pigs. I mean, she's just bringing out their inner pig nature, you could say. So yeah, it's so similar to, again, a lot of PreRaphaelite women have a bit of same face syndrome going on, because a lot of the models were used between paintings, and also it was just what was trendy at the time. But yeah, this is so similar. If you look at like the mirror in the background, all the gold, the colors, the draping, the hair, and you can see in this picture, Lucille is wearing it. She wears it like off her shoulder, which is similar to what's going on here. And this is kind of like where I started to realize, like, I don't think Del Toro is doing anything groundbreaking with gender in this film. He is just going back to some fairly tired tropes. Like Lucille is this mythical witch woman who poisons men and is trapped, and all this kind of femme fatale stereotype stuff, which is fine, but you're kind of like, you could have done something a little bit different. But yeah, it's these paintings are beautiful and I love them, but the actual meaning of referencing them and like feeding into stereotypes about femininity, not so much. So this dress is the one that Lucille wears probably for most of the film. Sorry, you can't see it terribly. I can see it all right, but that's a sort of close up on her collar, and this is her feeding tea to Edith. So this dress is teal, and it is velvet, and it is beautiful, and it's got dead ivy on the collar. I don't know if you can see it slightly better there. So yeah, this teal colour is one that I'm going to talk about a bit more when we get to talking about Allerdale Hall. And this is a chatelaine, which is something that I would like to make a trend in Lolita fashion, because I've seen a few people wear them and they are banging. I love them. So a chatelaine is like a collection of keys that the lady of the house would have on her waist. So it's basically a visual representation again of Lucille. She is stuck in this house. She is bound to this house. Her character is bound to this house. She has no identity outside of like this house. That's who she is. And chatelaines are just really cool. Like, who doesn't want a great big clanking thing of chains and keys on your hip? I'm into it. And this is also the same costume that she ends up wearing for when she is a ghost. And so right at the very end of the film, probably should have said, I'm not doing this in chronological order. I'm doing it thematically. I forgot to say that. So yeah, in this picture, so these are her like skeleton hands, and you can see she's wearing that same teal dress with the dead ivy on the front, and the chatelaine is still there. So it's like, and also when she is a ghost, she is still stuck in the house. This is it. This is her entire fate. She's never actually able to get beyond the environment. She, even like after she's died, she has to stay inside. She doesn't know anything outside of it. Here's her keys, which are stuck there. So yeah, it's quite sad. So now we're going to talk about Allerdale Hall and how much Del Toro loves. He just loves certain colours. He just can't get past it. So inside Allerdale Hall, when things are scary and when the truth has not yet been uncovered, everything is teal. Everything is teal. It is so aggressive and so obvious. And again, it's something that is noted in the art book. I love this scene because of all of the pointy teeth, which are literally about to eat tiny Edith in her wheelchair in the middle, looking very small due to the use of perspective and scale. I think this looks like a theme park ride, personally. It doesn't really look like a corridor. It looks more like a theme park ride. So yeah, this is too much teal, but what it's saying is, when things are spooky and there are secrets, everything is teal. See how teal everything is. And this is just a really good example of it, because this is these two having a chat about how they've got to keep everything secret. And this is one of the ghostly ex-wives coming out through the floor. And I think this is quite a good shot to see the contrast between the red of the ghost and the teal of everything else. Teal, this is my colour. Yeah, this was his colour board. There was teal, white, red, and yellow. No other colours were used in the making of this film. That's it. So you can see that the ghost shows up, even when it's very dark and spooky, pretty well against that teal there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the architecture in this film, because up until quite recently, I thought, this is ridiculous. Nowhere in England looks like this. This is far too ornate. What total tosh. Nothing that spiky could ever exist. It is totally impossible. But then I went to Newcastle, and this is St Thomas's Church in Newcastle, which was built in between 1827 and 1830. So feasibly, this would have been up at the same time that Allerdale Hall was up. And look at that, is a massive great whacking arch. It is totally hollow. You can see right through it. Look how spiky it is. Newcastle is a very spiky city. It had more money than Leeds, where I am. So they were able, because of imperialism and slavery, they had more money because they were a port town. So they were able to build these great whacking, real ghost housewives of Crimson Peak. Yes, it looks unfeasible. That amount of spike looks unfeasible, but it's not. that is a house that could have been built in that same time, which I think is just really interesting. The spikes are obviously like super aggressive and they look threatening, so that's what's going on. Allerdale Hall is teal and it's spiky because it's hiding secrets and it's full of danger. And it could have actually looked like that. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how at the end of this film, suddenly everything becomes neutrally lit. So you get, this scene is Edith talking to the doctor about what has happened, and she suddenly knows everything. And Del Toro went, do you know what? Neutral lighting. That'll hammer this point home. So everything stops being teal and everything starts being lit in this white light. This is Lucille in her robe that we've already spoken a little bit about. And in the art book, they say that that robe was supposed to make her look like a moth. And I think you can kind of see that there. She's flapping about in the wind. Also, I find it hilarious that the blood is literally pouring down the walls. This is red clay. It's not red clay, is it? It's just blood. That's all it is. That's what's going on here. We've already looked at this screenshot because it was just looking at Lucille's face. But I wanted to point out that this is like her moment of realization where she goes, oh no, I've got to kill you. Oh dear. And you can see that again, there's no funny teal business. This is just neutral. This is like her moment of, she's reckoning with the truth is what's happening there. Because she realizes that he actually will never love her the way that she loves him. Serious moment of natural colours, yeah. And this is when Thomas gets stabbed in the face and he dies. There's a lot of these interesting round windows in this house. So if we go on a little bit here. So that's the ghost in the bathroom, a round window letting in the teal light because it's spooky. Oh, no, and then we compare it to this round window, letting in the neutral light because things aren't spooky anymore. It's just sad because everyone's just realised they can't actually be together. Poor Tom. Yeah, I mean, I'm one of these people that doesn't really care for him that much, but it's very intense watching all the up-close stabbings at the end of this film. It's a lot, like you really feel it in like your hands and your face. So this is the final little bit of analysis for you. So this is Sir Thomas in his ghost form right at the very end. And if you compare his ghost to the other ghosts that we've looked at, he's able to be outside. He's completely white. He isn't that like messed up looking. Like he still looks like himself. He doesn't look like a totally fucked up like monster. And the explanation for this that is given in the Crimson Peak art book is that Del Toro wanted to kind of let him off lightly because he gets that. He has the moment of he has a moment where he goes to the doctor, okay, I'm not going to murder you then. And that's the moment that Del Toro was like, that makes him a good man. That allows him to have an honorable death and not be a hideous ghost. That one little moment of holding back. And then compare this ghost to how Lucille is like the super spooky, stuck in the house, shriveled up, like desiccated. You can't see her face. She's in the dark. And I just find it really frustrating that he was like, oh yes, the one moment of realization that Thomas had allows him to be honorable and not thinking about the other wives that he murdered with his sister. It's another, hasn't ghost fermented yet. But I mean, there's no time for Lucille to ghost ferment either. She just goes straight into that. He's a really nice guy. He's not a really nice guy. He's just basically, I think this ghost is him being Del Toro letting off Thomas extremely lightly. Maybe it's because he's a man. I don't know, just throwing that out there potentially. And if you compare it to the way that Lucille is like made into this horrible ghost adjacent mythical, but like bad mythical creature kind of woman, not 100% sure about that. So that's where I'm going to leave it. That's my tiny bibliography and filmography. Does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to? Yeah, I mean, she did kill them, but he agreed it was for him. The murders were for his mining. Yeah, why are men? The ultimate question. Yeah, just I have 15 minutes. Which sleeve was my favorite? That's a really good question. That's hard. I mean, I do like Edith's big white ones. I didn't include any imagery of the nightgown because I didn't have anything important to say about it other than, oh, look, it's white. Which, when you look at all the other like neutrally lit screenshots, you're like, yeah, I get it. She's wearing white. I get what's happening here. It wasn't an outfit that grabbed me as much as the others. Maybe the sleeve on the woman. Let's see if I can go. If I'll go back to which sleeve is my favorite. I like this one here. This guy. It's so impractical. Like, I don't know how tight it is around her elbow. It looks, I don't know how it's being held up. I don't understand anything about that sleeve, but I would wear it. It is an A+ sleeve. Yeah, Edith's nightgown is an extremely good example of that genre. They didn't have to carry candles. But that's not very much health and safety in early 20th century Buffalo. I think there probably were a lot of things that were slowly killing all of these women. So if it wasn't going to be the tea, it would have been something else. It would have been the arsenic in their wallpaper or something like that. If you don't carry candles with your big gothic sleeves, what is the point? This is very true. If I didn't have to be like leaning forward and clicking, I would be wearing a large pair of sleeves today, but I'm not. I'm just wearing a jacket and a hat, pretending to be a Victorian man, somewhere in between Edith and somewhere between Lucille and Thomas was where I was aiming for with this outfit. You can still swan around your crumbling mansion without a candle. Yeah, but you're going to trip up over your big sleeves, aren't you? Like I have a pair of sleeves that I have to keep my arms up like this because if I put them down, you trip over them on the floor. And I think that, yeah, if you're wandering around without a candle, I think it's really quite dangerous, actually. Any other questions or points or anything that anybody would like to talk about anymore? I'm going to go back to these nice PreRaphaelite pictures because I always like to look at them. I think they're nice. What colour scheme is my favourite? So, what is my favourite waistcoat? I really like the sort of the teal, white, red thing that goes on with Lucille in this. I think it's really cool. I love that like desaturated there and like desaturated teal is really nice. That grey sort of colour. I think it looks really good with the wig and makeup action they did for her. I think it's really nice. And I didn't really look at Thomas's outfits at all for this. I completely ignored the fact that that men wear clothes as well is what happened. So let me have a little look in this book and see if I can have a little look at what I think about Thomas's outfits. Yeah, this has been a running thing throughout my life. Like the amount of care that I have for what men are wearing compared to what women wear is like negligible. Let me see if I can have a look. Yeah, see, like this is just your average everyday meat outfit, isn't it? Like this is fine. Like, I mean, I'm basically wearing that, but better now. It's fine. I'm just looking at it like, yeah, that's a Boz coat. That's a satin waistcoat that I couldn't place, but someone could probably make me. A nice cravat, a box, a top hat that's not as nice as my top hat. Yeah, so this satin waistcoat is pretty nice. Like I would probably wear this. I'd probably wear this black satin one because I don't have one. I don't have a black satin waistcoat, but I think I would. Like, I think if there was satin, there are Chantone kind of Rolands, but not satin ones. Imagine they'd be hard to keep like steamed. If you have a face like Hiddleston, does your waistcoat really matter? Yes, fuck Beau Brummell. This is very true. There's a really good podcast. I can't remember who it's by. It might have been. Oh no, I can't remember who it's by. But there's a podcast about Beau Brummell and like his influence on fashion. That's really interesting. If anybody's interested in why do men wear suits? Why are men's clothes boring? The answer is it's Beau Brummell's fault. So go and have a little listen to that. Men should just dress like this again and just stand around and be pretty. Yeah, I totally agree. In like he was poor and wanted poor people to be fancy too. Yeah, but in a boring way. Like his idea of what fancy was just not what I think a lot of us would like fancy for men to have been. I will see if I can find it. I think it was one of the 99 Invisible offshoots, but percent invisible. Let's see if I can find it. Suits, yes. So it's on a podcast called Articles of Interest, and it's their 10th episode, and that talks about how suits came to be suits. Yeah, I think like mixing up. Oh, thank you for finding that. Yeah, men are trasher. Yes, I mean I'm alone in my house right now, but I will be going to my male partner's house later and saying, "Oh yes, I spoke trash about men and how they dress." He's fine. He doesn't mind at all. But yeah, like I think like Lolita fashion does a lot of this, taking the masculine elements from this era and mashing them up with the feminine stuff, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. Like that's what a Roland is. A Roland is like basically menswear from this era with the waistcoat and the coat on top, but cut for a woman. And yeah, that's why I'm wearing my crop and top hat, not a little hat, because I wanted it to be more of that that masculine edge. It's quite fun to sort of to change that up. So I'm trying to. Does anybody else have any more questions on Thomas's little round glasses? I like a pair of little round glasses. I like a pair of ornamental things on your face. Let's see if they look real or not, because they're in this book. I like a little pair of sunglasses. I do. I think they're a very fun accessory. Make you look even more like a nerd, which is good. Yeah, see, like this is a solid goth in summer look. I think your little sunglasses, and like your black satin waistcoat and your coat. Yeah, he's got his like not his key fob, his like watch fob as well. Tell you what though, it does look like he's mixing metals in this. He's got gold glasses and gold rings on, but a silver chain. Interesting. Yeah, there's all that discussion about the eyes and viewing and how you've got to look at things. Where the doctor is an optometrist and he says, "Oh, maybe you'll be able to see ghosts using this new science." It's some more like heavy-handed metaphor stuff that Del Toro goes in for. It's about like seeing and being able to see ghosts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I didn't really talk about the Doctor either because I didn't really find him that interesting. Didn't really speak about the men of this film very much at all. I only wanted to look at the women's dresses. That was mainly the idea behind this. Yeah, Edith needing a man to see feels extremely heavy-handed. Yeah, it's here and there, this film. Like, yes, she's an educated woman who likes to write, but why does that mean that all the other women need to hate her? Like, why does Lucille get, obviously, like, Lucille did the actual murdering, but why does Thomas get off so lightly, despite the fact that he was extremely complicit? So, yeah, the Doctor is something of he is a character that is there for plot reasons. He's not really set up, apart from the eye stuff. I didn't find him very interesting at all, which is why I didn't really speak about it. But yeah, there is, like, I'm sure that there is a very long thesis to be written on various chunks of this film. Like, I think that someone could easily do an entire PhD on PreRaphaelite art in this film. Like, you could definitely just slice it up in different chunks like that. But to be honest, you can kind of do that with whatever film you want, because that's what film studies is. You can say whatever you want as long as you can back it up with the textual analysis, and that is how you do a film degree. So I think that I am going to head off now, as I've had my 5-minute warning, to make sure that I don't bleed into anybody else's. So I'm glad you're feeling extremely educated. This was really fun, and I hope that don't forget that you can, if you want to, you can leave some feedback. I think it's been left in the chat where to feedback. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Go and rewatch the film and have a think about it, and just see what comes to the forefront of your mind. Do a Crimson Peak co-op. Tell me when you've done it, and have a really nice rest of your Halloween day, and enjoy the rest of the panels. Bye.